It was about 30 years ago, in the late 1980s. My wife Sherry and I and our three daughters were having lunch with my mom and dad. During the conversation, Mom asked me the what I like to call, "Have you thought about getting a real job lately?" question. Actually, let me go back and set the stage a little bit. I left my corporate America job in 1979 and started a consulting company to provide consultants to address end users within companies, because end users then, and actually still now, don't have the technical skills that they need to optimize their use of computers. That company, Corporate Management Systems, was very successful, and we decided to take another step and to develop a software product that would make it easier for end users without technical training to do their jobs and to utilize the computer. After a year and a half of R&D, we formed a company, Mainstay Software, and began the completion of the product and the documentation and built a marketing plan to capitalize on the ideas that we had for this product. We built the company up to 28 people. The business plan was designed to focus on the information industry. We raised $1.5 million, and after a year of effort, we completed the Mainstay product. During that same time, we had spent money on marketing to the information industry. As it turned out, they were not ready for what we had done, and the plan, which we thought would be quite well conceived, did not work. We ended up having, at the beginning of 1984, a massive layoff of 20 out of 28 people, reduced our force to 8 people and ultimately to 5, but committed to making this Mainstay product work. And ultimately it did in 1989 when we found the aerospace and defense community and rebuilt the business around that market. So now let's go back to 1987 when my mom at this brunch asked me the "Have you thought about getting a real job lately?" question. As I reflected upon that for a moment, all three of our daughters, who were 13 or 14 to 18 at the time, responded to my mom's query by saying no, they didn't want me to do that. I was really taken aback because the last few years since the layoff in 1984 had been very difficult for all of our family financially. We had lived in a nice, affluent community in Colorado. The kids went to middle schools and high schools that had people that were equally affluent or far more affluent. They were driving nice cars, wearing nice clothes, while my kids were having hand-me-downs from Flory to Heidi to Karin. They were living a life where we were always concerned about spending money, and I felt badly for them because they were in a group of people for whom those issues were not a problem. We even had our car repossessed out of our garage during that time period, and the kids withstood that as well. Anyway, as a result of my concern about what I had put them through, I was really surprised when they all answered my mom's question about a real job by telling me no, they didn't want me to do that. We left my mom and dad's, sat down with each of the girls individually and asked them why they had responded that way. I was really quite interested in knowing. Interestingly, all three of them responded in basically the same way. The most poetic was our youngest daughter, Karin. When I asked her why she had responded that way, she said, "Dad, when you started Mainstay, you had a dream that was very important to you. If you stopped Mainstay and got a real job, you'd never have the opportunity to make that dream come true. And I would never want that to happen to you." I actually have never gotten through that story without choking up and getting tears in my eyes because it was such an emotional interaction for me. I had thought that the years during which we'd had these financial traumas had been the worst in the lives of my family. And they certainly were difficult, very difficult. But what I realized after talking to our daughters was that inadvertently, we had given them much more than we would have given had we had financial resources to buy material things. They had learned how to be selfless, how to be compassionate, how to care about other people more than your own material needs, in spite of what your peer group is going through. It was undoubtedly one of the two most transformative events of my life, and I've never forgotten about it. I'm thankful that our kids learned what they did, but at the same time, it spurred me on, because if my children, our children, were that interested in making sure that my happiness was achieved, it was my obligation to do everything I could to make this concept, the concept of providing end users the ability to maximize their use of computers, to make that dream come true. And my entire life prior to that as an adult, as I now reflect upon it, and after that, has been dedicated to making that dream come true.